Welcome, everyone. Um,
Welcome, Alan.
welcome. Uh, Perhaps we can, I don't know how we're showing up on everyone's screen. Um,
Welcome.
okay, it's just, there's Anna from, okay. Um,
Hi,
so
Alan.
hello.
Sorry, I'm late.
It's okay. We have Karen who's joining us for the first time. She's in Mexico. She's an American. Jonathan
Karen.
joining us for the first time. He's in Miami, or not Miami, Florida. He's on the Gulf Coast, right?
Yeah.
And then Sana
Yep.
is joining us. She is in Turkey for the first time. And Rania is joining us. She's from Cairo, Egypt. She's joining us for the first time, and she and Ahmed are married. But we'll go back up to Karen. Karen, if you just want to briefly introduce yourself, let us know just a touch about you.
I live in central Mexico in a colonial town. I have been in the work for a while now, and I'm looking forward to meeting and getting to know all of you through this group and meeting each other.
Okay. I mean, you've been in the work for, was it 11 years?
About 11 years now.
I'm just going to mute you, Jonathan, because I think there's noise in the background that I can hear. But it's Karen.
Yes.
So you've been into the work for 11 years. You're actually
Yeah.
part of a small group in your town.
Yes, we have a group here that's bilingual, bicultural. It's very interesting because, as I guess we'll see in this forum, people from different backgrounds bring different viewpoints to the work, but I'm looking forward to getting to know everyone in here.
And you're ultimately from America.
Yes, I grew up in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia. Okay.
Hi, Karen.
Hi. Hi to
Now
everyone.
we're going to move to Jonathan. Jonathan, yeah. Oh, he's moving indoors because maybe there's airplanes or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you just briefly introduce yourself, Jonathan?
I'm 23. I've been reading Gurdjieff and studying his work avidly since I was about 15 years old. I came across Alan on Facebook, and I'm a structural body worker. I primarily get people out of pain by working on them manually as a manual therapist. Studied the Ayurvedic system of healing for about 2.5 years. And I had a history with Zen in America for about 6 years, from 15 years old through the lineage of Suzuki Roshi. And more recently, with plant medicine, with Ecuadorian shamans in San Pedro ceremonies.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I've been.
Okay. Thank you. Sana, can you introduce yourself briefly?
Okay, hi. My name is Sana, and I'm Syrian, and I've been living in Turkey for 5 years. I have been interested in Gurdjieff for almost 10 years now. It started in Syria. We had a small group in Aleppo, and then because of the war, we couldn't continue. So I came to Turkey, and also I met Azim. I don't know if anybody knows him here,
Yeah.
and we.
Some of us were Facebook friends with Azim Looker. She knew him in person.
Yes. So yeah, and I found I've been friends for some time with Alan, and I love the idea, and I'm so happy that we are doing this online Gurdjieff group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guido, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. I'm 68 years old. I've been in groups since 40 years ago, 40 years ago, and I'm continue to be interested in the studies of this master, Mr. Gurdjieff, and I'm very glad to know you all. For now, I am glad to see you all And as myself, I want to continue to my diet. Not that I completely convinced that I am doing that the work is doing some good for me, something good for me.
Yeah, Guido is
Yeah.
coming from Medellin, Colombia, in South America. That's where he lives. And in 1979, he saw a poster for Meetings with Remarkable Men. And Peter Brooks, the director, was there to introduce the film. And that sparked his interest in the teachings. So I think I've been involved in the teachings interest since 1981. He's got 2 years on me in terms of them. Ian, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Ian. I'm in Portland, Oregon. Just had my birthday. I'm 38.
Happy birthday.
I started out in the Zen tradition in New York City back in maybe 2006. Izumi Hiroshi lineage. And about 10 years ago, I came across, I used from the real world coffee shop, never having heard of Gurdjieff, but always having been interested in spirituality and all such things, and was immediately hooked, and been friends with Alan for 6 years today.
Yeah, today. Is it 6 years today? We've been Facebook friends and exchanged a lot of messages. We met once for 90 minutes, but that was this summer. He flew through Toronto, and we, with his girlfriend, and we went to the lakefront, and I met him.
I'm excited for all the new folk in the group.
Yeah.
Really good.
Okay, Reggie, your microphone's muted, so if you can just give us okay, we're not hearing you, Reggie. Okay, we're not getting Reggie for some reason.
I don't know why.
Reggie is.
No.
Yes, we are. Now we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. My name is Reggie.
Whoops. We seem to have lost you again, Reggie. I'm not sure why. No.
No. Okay.
Yeah, just briefly. We got you there briefly. Reggie's Mexican. He's a high school teacher. He's got a background in engineering. He's been interested in the work. So he's coming from Mexico as well as Karen up in the, I don't know where everyone else in terms of the screen, what you're seeing, but he's coming from Mexico. He lives in a very small village down in Mexico, and he's a high school teacher. And I've been talking to him, privately and stuff like that, getting him to be more mindful, more aware when he's in the classroom, teaching the kids, perhaps even getting the kids to do a bit of mindful awareness that will help them learn more and things like that. Can you speak, Reggie? Can we hear you?
Yeah. But what about now?
Yeah. Yes. Now we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You said pretty much all that I have to say, but yeah, I'm from Mexico. Yeah, always been interested in this kind of job. I mean, of work, meditation, and things like that. Glad to be here, learning a lot.
Okay. Anna, introduce yourself briefly.
Hi, my name is Anna. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I am a property manager. Aside from that, my main focus or my path is Bektashi. It's Sufism. It's very close to Gurdjieff's philosophy. I see a lot of similarities. For example, I love, to work on myself and try to really focus on me. And that's why I started reading your posts, Alan, and I really liked a lot of them. Very interesting. And I liked our meeting last Sunday and the private meeting that we also had. So I'm very interested in, and looking forward to other meetings as well. I'd like to really do more work on me and be aware more.
Anna was born in Macedonia. She's only been in America since around the age of 10. And the variant of Sufism that she follows is based in Albania. So it's a Balkan form of Sufism. So it's slightly Europeanized, I guess, being in the Balkans. Okay. Rania, your microphone's muted. If you could unmute it and just introduce yourself.
I did, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, my name is Rania. I am from Cairo, Egypt. This is the first time I attend. Thank you, Alan, for allowing this to happen. I have been introduced to the Enneagram by my husband.
Who on my screen is right next to you. So.
Really? I can't see him on the screen.
Oh, you can't? Okay. I don't know what it's like on all of your screens, but in mine, you're both at the very bottom together.
Really?
So, yeah.
No. I started reading about Gurdjieff's work and comparing it to the Enneagram of personality. And as you may all know, the Enneagram personality is more popular and in demand. But whenever I read and read and read, I realize that there's another essence about it. And I really feel that the work or the inner work is very important. And it is more important than the personality and the typing and all of this, because to be able to live in harmony and in alignment, it is something, after all the experiences and running in life, I feel that this is something that we have all to seek and look to, because it is else missing, and this is more important. To be in harmony with yourself and everything around you is by far more important than knowing yourself, because I think the inner self is more important than the self which we show. And I would really love to know more and about all of this and find the missing link.
Okay. Hamid, your microphone's muted. If you could unmute it and just briefly introduce yourself. Okay.
Yes. Hello, everybody. This is my second time here in this group. By profession, I'm an architect, and at the same time, I do training and corporate consultancy. Enneagram. I got introduced to Gurdjieff during my Enneagram studies 2-3 years ago. Actually, it's Gurdjieff to me is like an ocean of wisdom and knowledge that has no shores. And the more you sail in that ocean, the more fascinating it gets. So I'm very, very interested to stay there, to stay in this ocean,
okay,
and to explore it to the deepest level.
Okay.
So beautiful.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Alan. You all know me from Facebook. I've been a student of these teachings since 1981. I live, eat, breathe these teachings. They are something I go to bed thinking about, I wake up thinking about throughout my day. The inner work is extremely important. We will be doing, going through a lot of the inner work, a lot of the inner exercises, connecting them to the theory, to growing our being. I've just expanded this group. I may have one other person joining us next week. I'm not sure where Graham is. Graham was here last week. I'm not sure why he's not here today, but expanded the group again to get more synergy, more energy. And starting next week, what I'm actually going to do is to really go back to the basics and unfold the system in the way that Mr. Gurdjieff unfolded it and presented it to Uspansky, with my own understanding, with my own 37 years of experience behind the way I'm going to do it. And I have a live group. My live group is actually smaller than my online group. It seems to be very hard to get people to commit to come to a place every week. But with my online group, what I'm going to do is I am a hypnotherapist. So part of the online group, I'm going to do a half-an-hour group hypnosis session related to the particular aspect of the teaching that I'm going to teach, in that week. And so this is also something that I'm going to be making available online. I'm going to be recording those sessions. And, for instance, next week, I'm going to be talking about the fractured nature of our personality, how we do one thing one moment and another thing another moment, and we have blinders that prevent us from seeing how contradictory we are. And when you begin to explore yourself, when you begin to engage in self-observation, you realize that it's not so much contradictory as it is polarized. For instance, Mr. Gurdjieff said our likes balance our dislikes. It's like there's this lever, and on one end is our like, and the other end is our dislikes. And we can change a like into a dislike or a dislike into a like, but to realize that they are part of the same lever. So when we feel love or when we feel anger towards other people, they're actually on a continuum. But when we're in that moment of expressing love, that's what we see, and we don't realize that there's a strong connection between that feeling of love and the feeling of anger that we may have. So this is going to be the basis of the recording that I'm going to do with my group on Tuesday night. And then I will make it available. I will, have to do the bit of post-production work, and I will make it available for all of us online and for the people out watching what we're doing, so that we can do inner exercises in the Gurdjieff tradition, bringing our awareness back to our breath, back to our body. But I will also use my skills. I've been a hypnotherapist now, coming up 30 years next summer. So 29 and a half years, to augment and accentuate what I'm doing. And then I want to just, in a series of unfolding of the teaching in a certain order, following a very similar order that Mr. Gurdjieff gave to Uspensky, starting with the fact that we lack unity, which relates to will, which relates to the ability to do. We're one thing one moment and one thing another moment. But if we begin to observe ourselves, we will see that a lot of these fall on a line, they fall on a lever, and we're not quite so jumbled as we first appear. That every time we feel love and every time we feel anger, there's a connection between them. They're both two ends of a continuum until we get up to the higher levels, at which point there's no opposite. So this is my goal. This is, I think it's meeting number 25 for me, for Ian, for Guido, Reggie. I've been doing this since May the 1st, and it seemed like since May the 1st, what I was really attempting to do, and I will continue doing it, is pulling together a lot of the inner work and the inner exercises that we use to grow our being. If we do not do any inner work, we will not grow. We can develop the mind, we can fill the mind with all these ideas, and they're very important to understand what we are doing and the purpose behind what we're doing. But without doing the inner work on a consistent basis, we will not grow our inner being. The first inner being that we grow is what Mr. Gurdjieff called our Kesdjan body. Another name for it is the astral body, or the body of the essence. We have to grow that. And J.G. Bennett said that the Kesdjan body is a vessel for the energies of the soul. So this development of this level, the development of our inner being is very important. So I'm going to begin by doing J.G. Bennett's 60-point exercise. And just give me a second. I want to set something up because I want to move into another exercise. And I just want to find it first. So I don't have any problems, because I want to go from J.G. Bennett's 60-point exercise to a couple of other shorter exercises. The 60 bone exercise, moving through the hands and fingers, the 10 bone illumination exercise, and the 12 joint exercise. And these are all very, very good preliminary exercises. And for those ones, it really does help to be able to view them. So I am just setting it all up so I will be able to do this. Whoops, just give me 1 second. Okay. So it's always good to begin any inner exercise with an affirmation. Those of you who have been students of the Gurdjieff teachings for a while understand that we have 3 octaves of development. The octave of food, which is connected to our physical body. The octave of air, which is connected to our emotional body and our emotions. And the octave of impressions, which is connected to our thoughts and our head brain. Another way of saying it is the octave of food is connected to our physical body. The octave, or our physical brain. The octave of air is connected to our feeling brain. And the octave of impressions is connected to our head brain. And so when we work on ourselves, we are actually working along 3 different lines that are intimately connected. You know, the octave of food can only develop to a certain point when it needs an outside energy, which comes in through the octave of air. That can only develop to a certain point, and it needs an outside energy, which comes in through the octave of impressions. And this allows us to unfold and grow our being in the proper way. Now, Mr. Gurdjieff said to the ladies or the women of the rope, he said it's always good at the beginning of an inner exercise to affirm why we are doing this. And I've connected these affirmations to the 3 lines within us, the octave of food, the octave of air, and the octave of impressions. The octave of food is connected to my body brain. Mr. Gurdjieff told Catherine Mansfield, and it's in a tiny little typed thing in one of the libraries in the US, which is titled Conversations with Gurdjieff. And he tells her that we should not be identified with our physical body. This is because our physical body does not belong to us. Our physical body belongs to the earth. We started out as a single cell in our mother's womb, and then we began to draw resources, first from our mother's blood, so the air that she breathed and the food that she ate, and we began to construct our body from the elements of the earth. When we think of our body, we are little more than walking, moving clumps of earth come to life. We have iron, metals, minerals, various different things in our body. And every soft cell in our body is regenerated within 3 months. The soft tissues in my mouth within 3 or 4 days. Within my stomach, 3 or 4 days. The hard tissues, like bones and stuff like that, are regenerated within 6 months. So it's almost like every 6 months, we are in a new body. Our body has completely rebuilt itself, when we lack that awareness. But our body does not belong to us. It comes from the earth. Now, we also have an essential nature, an essence. The body is world 48. The essence is world 24. In that same TypeScript manual, Catherine Hulme wrote that Mr. Gurdjieff told her, the essence, we should not identify with our essence. And as an aside here, the best book on the teachings is In Search of the Miraculous by P.D. Uspensky, but there are limitations in that book. He makes the essence seem almost like the promised land, like the goal that we are striving to achieve, but the real I is above essence. And in his conversation with Catherine Hulme, Mr. Gurdjieff said, do not be identified with our essence, that our essence is human essence. So it's like there's this human essence, which is a cup of water, and a drop of the water has been taken out, and that drop represents our essence. But that drop will go back and eventually dissolve into the glass of human essence. And therefore, we should not identify with our essence either. We are not our essence. We are not our body. We live within our essence and we live within our body. They're very, very important dimensions of our being. But what we want to develop is what Mr. Gurdjieff called the real I. This is ourself in world 24. So this is a sort of a lengthy explanation. But when I begin inner work, I like to affirm along 3 lines. So I like to affirm that I am doing this work for myself. And then I like to affirm that I am doing this work for humanity. That is, at the level of essence, where my essence is one with humanity. And I am doing this work for planet Earth. I like to think of the planet as a sacred, holy being. Mr. Gurdjieff said, Earth is a being. So all work that I do, all inner work, is not just for myself. It's for myself, for humanity, and for the Earth herself. And within me, these 3 exist. So I'm really also saying in a subtextual way that I'm working along the octave of impressions, the head brain. I'm working along the octave of air, the feeling brain. And I'm working along the octave of food, the body brain. And that my work is for these 3 dimensions. So I'm going to lead us through J.G. Bennett's 60-point exercise. So let's just begin by becoming aware of our breathing, to become aware of the air that flows in through our nose, nasal cavity, back of mouth, throat, down into our lungs, and back out again. And let's try to pay particular attention to the bridge of the nose, where the air flows past the nasal passage up closest to our brain. And there is a bit of a crossover. What goes up our nose can actually enter into the brain fairly quickly. So the air, we're not just breathing molecules down into our lungs. Some of it can pass up into our brain. And air is our second being food. The food we eat in through our mouth is our first being food. Air is our second being food. And the impressions we receive through our eyes, ears, nose, taste buds are our third being food. But focus on our breath. Be aware of the sensation of air. Be aware of the air as it passes through the bridge of your nose. Be aware of the movement of your diaphragm down the diaphragmatic cavity, your abdomen rising, your ribs opening. Just become aware of your breathing. Now the 60-point exercise, it starts by breathing in, and this is my term, molecules of awareness. Breathing in molecules of awareness to 30 points down the one side of our body and 30 points up the other side. We breathe in molecules of awareness, and then with our out breath, we just relax that point in our body. And so the 60-point exercise is actually done per breath, per point. So breathing in to the crown of our head, the very top of our head, and then breathing out relaxation. Then breathing into the right side of our forehead and breathing out relaxation. The right side of our nose and face. The right side of our head and our right ear. The right side of our mouth and jaw. The right side of our neck and shoulder. Our right upper arm and elbow. Our right lower arm and wrist. The top of our right hand. Our right thumb. Our right index finger. Our right middle finger. Our right fourth finger. Our right baby finger. The palm of our right hand. Breathing in molecules of awareness and breathing out tension to the right side of our chest. The right side of our solar plexus and abdomen. The right side of our upper back. The right side of our lower back. Our right hip and buttock. Our right upper leg and knee. Our right lower leg and ankle. The top of our right foot. Our right big toe. Our right second toe. Our right middle toe. And for reasons I'm not going to explain now, it's very important to learn to sense each toe. And the right fourth toe can be the hardest. the right baby toe. Then all your right toes and heel. The bottom of your right foot. And now reversing this process and breathing in molecules of awareness and breathing out tension to the bottom of your left foot. Your left toes and heel. Your left baby toe. Your left fourth toe. Your left middle toe. Your left second toe. Your left big toe. The top of your left foot. Your left ankle and lower leg. Your left knee and upper leg. Your left hip and buttock. The left side of your lower back. The left side of your upper back. The palm of your left hand. Your left baby finger. Your left fourth finger. Your left middle finger. Your left index finger. Your left thumb. The top of your left hand. Your left wrist and lower arm. Your left elbow and upper arm. Your left shoulder and the left side of your neck. The left side of your jaw and mouth. The left side of your head and your left ear. the left side of your face and nose. Your left eye. The left side of your forehead. And finishing at the top of your head. Now, this is something that I've added to this exercise. I would like you to just become aware of your breathing. And as you breathe in, imagine bringing the sensation up the left side of your body. And as you breathe out, imagine pushing the sensation down the right side of your body. Breathing in sensation up from your left side, from your foot to your head. And then breathing, pushing it out from your head down the right side of your body to your foot. And just circle around your body just for a couple of breaths. And then let's move into Mr. Gurdjieff's filling exercise. As a vessel fills with warm golden honey, we're going to fill our body with sensation, starting with the toes. So fill the toes with sensation. And then from the toes to the heel. And then from the bottom of the feet up to the ankles. And then fill with sensation slowly from the bottom of the feet up past the ankles, the middle of the lower leg, the upper lower leg, up to the knees, up past the knees, up into the upper leg, up the upper leg to the hips and the hands, then up from the bottom of the feet, up past the hips and hands, into the lower torso, lower arms, up into the middle torso, elbows, up from the bottom of the feet, into the upper arms, chest, upper back, right all the way up to our shoulders, and then filling with sensation from the bottom of the feet to the neck, to the bottom of the neck, and then up the neck to the skull and head, and then filling with sensation from the bottom of the feet all the way up to the top of the head. And now we're going to go into the 60 bone exercise. And we have bones in our, just a second, we have bones, 3 bones in our each finger that go right and extend deep into the palm of our hands. And I'm going to share the screen. I've got this so that we can visually follow along. So there's the bone to the first knuckle, to the palm, and then the bone in the finger in the palm. And the exercise we use with this one is Mr. Gurdjieff's wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being. So for our thumb, we do wholly affirming, for instance. Our right thumb, our right finger, wholly denying. Our right middle finger, wholly reconciling. Our right fourth finger, transubstantiate in me. And our right baby finger, for my being. And then we move down to the left foot. And we start with the left baby toe and we move along to the big toe. And then we move into the right foot with the right big toe to the baby toe. And then we come back to the left baby finger. I've got these x-rays of hands and feet, and I've got the exercise on a recording. So I'm going to play this recording with the visual image. I just hopefully, if you can't hear the sound, please let me know. I've had problems before, but I think I've got it so that we can hear the sound. So I'm going to start now, and let me bring this to the full screen.
Uh-huh.
wholly affirming,
Yep.
We can hear
wholly
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
denying,
Okay.
Yes.
wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being. This is the 60 bone exercise. Become aware of all 3 bones in each finger and toe, and repeat a line from the wholly affirming prayer in the following sequence. Wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being, wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being, wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being, wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being, wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being, wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being, wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being, wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being, wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being, wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being, wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being,
wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being. So, as the earth is surrounded by an atmosphere, we too are surrounded by an atmosphere, perhaps a meter, meter and a half. And Mr. Gurdjieff called this the collected state exercise. The way to finish inner work. So become aware of your atmosphere. Become aware that you are surrounded by an atmosphere. Now, this atmosphere is made up of 4 components, including our associations, our sensations, our feelings. And he said it's very important to remain in the collected state, to keep our atmosphere tranquil, still, calm. He said if we think of our mother, a part of our atmosphere breaks off and goes towards her. If we get identified with something, our atmosphere goes towards what we are identified with. And it's important to conserve, to collect our atmosphere. So become aware of the atmosphere surrounding your body. Do your best to keep it calm, tranquil, still. And all of the benefits, not all of them, but a lot of the benefits of the inner work we've just done are partially contained within this stillness, within this collected state, within this atmosphere around you. And in a moment, I'm going to count to 3. And when I get to 3, suck the atmosphere in, breathe it in, and then as you breathe out, imagine that a part of the atmosphere remains within you. 1, 2, 3. And then breathe out naturally and imagine that part of the atmosphere stays within you. Mr. Gurdjieff says that after we do this, particularly when we do work on ourselves, morning sittings, we shouldn't rush off anywhere, but remain in this collected state for 10 or 15 minutes, to what he said, to allow the emanations to settle within us. This is how we grow ourself at a higher level. And he also said it's very good to finish our inner work with an affirmation. And so I want you to silently repeat in your mind after me. May results from this exercise.
The results from this exercise.
Silently. Be transubstantiated in me for my being. And then just return, back here. I notice a number of you must have turned your microphones off, or did they get turned off automatically? Unmute, let's unmute. Any comments, any questions? Okay, I mentioned, some of you I can't unmute, I'm trying to unmute some of, yeah. I mentioned that,
I had to mute actually.
That's okay.
Of,
Any questions, any comments? The inner work is most important. I've got a lot of these actually on my YouTube channel on a playlist called Exercises in the Gurdjieff Tradition. And I will be adding to that playlist. I've got J.G. Bennett's 60-point exercise there. I've got the 60 bone exercise. I've got the collected state exercise. I've got a few others. Some of them are only like 1.5 to 2 minutes long so that you can learn how to do them. Other ones are longer. I actually have an exercise called Alan's compilation exercise, where I start with a relaxation exercise and then move into a breathing exercise, and then briefly move through the 60 bone, the hands and fingers exercise, a 10 bone illumination exercise, a 12 joint, so the joints in our bone exercise, finishing with the collected state. The exercises that I put online are really like training wheels. Ideally, we should be doing these exercises on our own, sitting quietly. One of the problems with the transmission of the inner work has been you tell someone something and they might learn it wrong or they might pick it up wrong. They would generally have the opportunity of going back, discussing it. The person who taught them would figure out perhaps they got it wrong and show them the right way. With YouTube, with modern technology, we can put the exercises done the right way online so you can learn how to do them the right way. I also have one called the morning sitting, which is it's like a 22-minute exercise that goes through a different version of self-sensing that I learned through George Adi, who had been one of Mr. Gurdjieff's students, who moved to Australia. I got a recording of an exercise of his. I don't want to go into that one today because it involves breathing. It involves the connection between our emotions and how to breathe in higher elements from the air. I will be deconstructing all of these exercises, going through them all in terms of the group, what we're doing. But I want to do them sort of in a more logical sequence, a more logical form. If all you get from today is the sensation of yourself, that will be tremendous. I've mentioned it before. I step on this idea a lot. The most important dimension of inner work is the sensation of self. It's the development of the awareness of our physical body. And to be aware of our physical body from the bottom of our feet to the top of our head. And Mr. Gurdjieff said sensation should flow in through the bottom of our feet up to our head. Relaxation, we relax our body down from our head to our feet. But sensation, we first build it through the filling exercise, slowly developing that awareness. It's almost like the mindful body scan, but the goal is to develop the sensation of the self. And the ultimate goal is to, in a moment, to be aware of your physical self, your physical body. This awareness of our physical body, this awareness of the sensation of self is the most important awareness, the most important inner work we can do. There's a lot more inner work in terms of the head brain, in terms of the feeling brain, in terms of developing other awarenesses, but it's all predicated on the ability to sense our body. So the sensation of self in the proper form and sequence to develop our inner body, our Kesdjan body, actually has to be in the second position. It's something that we hold consciously, deliberately with intent in the back of our awareness, but we learn it in the front of our awareness. We focus on it at the beginning to learn it very well so that we can then have it in the back of our awareness and hold on to it. As I've mentioned to people in the group before, until about 7 years ago, I could not talk and maintain this awareness of my body. Somewhere along the way, I was able to be talking and hold the awareness of my body just in the background. I found that when I talked, the words were so hypnotic, so strong, that speaking pulled me into a state of identification with my words. And I lost that connection with my body. It took me a long time to develop this. And it's something, if I had known the absolute importance of self-sensing, I would have done a lot more self-sensing work in the early 80s and 90s than I did. Someone on Facebook said, if you could send a single word back to your younger self, what would it be? And I said, if we could have a hyphen in it, I would send the word self-sensing. It is the basis for the development of everything that comes beyond it. So even though we did it somewhat formally today in an inner exercise, this awareness of ourself, this should be an awareness that we cultivate wherever we are and whatever we are doing. Most people have a very tenuous and limited connection to their body. They are not aware of their body. They don't hold consciously, mindfully, with intent, this awareness of their body throughout the day. Their body is a vehicle. It gets them from one place to another. They don't really bathe the body in the energy of attention. We do not focus our awareness, our attention on our body. And this is an exercise we can do anywhere. I actually have a meetup group called Toronto Mindfulness Walk, where I teach people. Reggie, I think there's a rooster in the background. I'm going to mute you. Toronto Mindfulness Walk, where I teach people to do a simple variant of self-remembering, but to make them aware and to realize that we can bring this mindful awareness to our body wherever we are. It's a very good and it's very important to have some kind of a morning practice where in the morning, between getting up and starting our day, we bring back some of the energy we hold, some of the energy within us. We're in more of a collected state. We're more together when we wake up than when we are throughout the day. We tend to get dispersed and dragged this way and that way as things happen. So it's a good idea in the morning to do some kind of exercise, to do some kind of inner work, but throughout the day, to just bring yourself back to your body, back to your body, back to your body. For some people, it's difficult. I once communicated with someone online, and they said they could sense half their body at a time. And I told them you just have to work on it. You want to develop what Mr. Gurdjieff termed the sensation of self. And in terms of introducing the sensation of self into the teachings, in meetings with remarkable men, there's a story. Mr. Gurdjieff didn't quite give his age, but we can assume it was around 12 or 13. He and another boy who became one of the seekers of the truth with him developed a rivalry because they were both smitten with the same girl. And so they decided to have a duel to settle it, but they didn't know what to do and how to have a duel. And so they eventually decided that they were going to sneak into the Turkish artillery range, and whoever survived the nightly test of the armaments and whatever would get the girl. And in the artillery range, Mr. Gurdjieff actually uses the phrase, the sensation of self. If you've ever been in mortal danger, I had a gun pointed at me when I was 18, and I was so into my body. I was so aware of the physical dimension of myself that when I read the experience that he had as the boy in the artillery range, it was like I had a very similar experience. So it was very easy for me to sense my whole body as one. I had that memory. I had that shock, that fear of being disembodied, of losing my body in a moment. So it was fairly easy for me. For other people, they have to build it. They have to nurture it. They have to grow it. And I remember years ago, I was standing in a line, and I found myself getting impatient. And then I thought, but wait a minute, I can become aware of my body. And I lost my impatience for lines and lining up and queuing up when I realized that it gave me the ideal opportunity to begin to do inner exercises. And the sensation of self, the sensation of our body, we can do it as we're walking down the street. With the members of the meetup group or the people who show up for the meetup group that I do, I have them become aware of how we always land on our heel, push off with our ball and toes, to become aware of the movement of the ankle joints, the toe joints, the knee joint, the hip joints, to become aware how our legs swing like pendulums around our hips, and how we move and how the top of our body moves in a contralateral fashion to the bottom of the body, and then to become aware of the movement of their shoulder joints, their elbows, their wrists, and to really enter into their body. So this is preliminary work to really become embedded in this physical awareness, this sensation of self. Ultimately, we want to have this sensation of self and to mindfully and with deliberate intent hold it in the back of our awareness while we become aware of what we can see, hear, smell, taste, or while we become mindful, aware of the pictures and the words perhaps in our mouth. But we want to maintain this body-brain awareness, this sensation of self as we do that. Mr. Gurdjieff didn't quite define it as clearly as I'm defining it, but preliminary basic self-remembering is any two-brained form of mindful awareness. And mindfulness is defined as any present-centered focus of our attention done in a non-judgmental way. Full self-remembering is a complex process, but I could become aware of what I see. I can become aware of the camera on my screen, visually aware of seeing. But he said two brain, and the second brain should always be the sensory brain. He mentioned to people, you can become aware of what you're feeling. If you're feeling joy, as long as you are sensing the body, that is a form of self-remembering. Now, self-remembering, we grow the awareness so that ultimately it's consciously or mindfully looking while listening, while smelling, while tasting, while sensing the body, and then being aware of our feeling. That is the comprehensive, three-brained, full self-remembering. But that's something, it's like a muscle, it's something we have to develop towards. So the first part, the most important dimension, is to really exist in our physical body, to be aware of our physical body. Our physical body is our loyal companion. Wherever we go, our physical body is with us. Whatever we do, our physical body is there. We go to bed at night and our physical body is there when we wake up in the morning. How often do we give it the respect it is due? How often do we give it the attention it deserves? So this is, the most basic thing we can become aware of is our physical self. Any comments, any questions?
I
There's
have
about another
I
12
have a
minutes to go.
question.
Yes,
I have
Rania.
a question, if you don't mind. Yes. You mentioned substantiate,
Mhm.
okay, and also you mentioned atmosphere
Yes.
and the elements. Does this have to do anything with the four humors? You know, the humors that had with the cardinal rules, you know, the sanguineous and the ruddy, bilious.
I haven't really studied a lot of the four humors,
Okay.
so I'm not sure. The atmosphere, we can talk about our auric field, our energetic field. Our body doesn't end at our skin. Mr. Gurdjieff said that there are four aspects of our atmosphere, including our thoughts, including our emotions, including our sensations. So it's made up of these different parts of ourself. But normally our atmosphere is very dispersed. A problem that I have, for instance, there's a spiritual teacher who's dead now, who's gone by many names, but one of the names he went by was Osho. And Osho's biggest exercise is screaming and shaking around. And when you do that, you're dispersing your atmosphere. You're not keeping it collected. We want to keep our atmosphere collected. And Mr. Gurdjieff said that, you know, for most people, to learn to collect the atmosphere in our morning sitting, in our practice, but it's something we should be doing even when we're walking down the street. When you're walking down the street, be in that state of quietness, in that state of calmness. So that's the atmosphere. And then the word transubstantiate is another word we can use for that is transformation. But there's a slightly different quality to the concept of transubstantiation, in that we're talking about the wholly affirming, the wholly denying, the wholly reconciling. So we're talking about the highest, most fundamental energies of the universe. And our body and ourselves, we are a fair bit lower than that. And so there's some kind of, you know, we're hoping, it's a wish, it's a desire to have those higher energies transubstantiated within us. This is actually a Christian concept. Transubstantiation is where the wafer and the wine of communion are transubstantiated into the body and blood of Jesus. So when they drink them, they're drinking that higher element. But that's just exoteric Christianity. In the context of this phrase, you know, we want those highest elements of the universe to somehow mingle within us. I mean, that's our goal. Our goal is to develop our being so we can connect to the highest level of the universe, that we can, so to speak, move up the ray of creation.
Well, this is why I was asking about the transubstantiate, because it has to do with this Christian faith and this element. And also when I'm asking also about atmosphere, I want to know, is there a relation to, you know, the four elements also, who are water, fire, and
air?
Is there any
well, I mean,
relation
you
to
know,
these four elements?
Earth is our body.
Okay.
Water, I mean, this is you know, the ancient metaphor. Earth symbolized the physical body, water symbolized the emotions, air symbolized the mind, and the fire, something in the core of our being. But the other thing is, you know, it's nice to make connections with other teachings, but it's also, we don't want to get too complex. We don't want to do, you know, a comparative study of the Gurdjieff teachings with, you know, Hermeticism, for instance, because we will start to get a little too muddled up. but there is a connection. You know, earth represents the sensation, water represents the emotions. However, in the Gurdjieff teaching, but in the Gurdjieff teachings, emotion comes through breath. So we breathe it in. So it's the octave of air. So we get a little messed up if we start to make those connections.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
But I mean, I can send you something on the atmosphere that Mr. Gurdjieff talks about. I can actually post it. I will post it on the the group board, and I will post it in the description of this video so that other people can read a little bit deeper into it. What he means by atmosphere.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay.
I'm trying to kind of harness my thoughts here. So Gurdjieff, I remember, through all his readings, there's always this thread of thought, and even Beelzebub's Tales, where he talks about hypnotism and the inner exercise. It does feel like, the body scanning, and since this is coming from the Gurdjieff tradition, I'm wondering, with his students, to your knowledge, when he would prescribe an exercise for a student to help them work on themselves, was it through the sensation of self, from this exercise that gave them the will to change a behavioral habit that they had?
You're asking a very complex question.
Okay.
There's our conscious mind, which according to Mr. Gurdjieff is our false self. And there's our subconscious, which is our true self. And in Tales, and I must admit, when I first read this, it really upset me. I said, this is rubbish. He said we have to harmonize our conscious and our subconscious minds. And I thought, how can my conscious ever harmonize with my subconscious? And then I was doing an exercise in mindful awareness. And I realized that all of these exercises, the mindful exercises, they're actually lifting us out of that subconscious level into a higher level of awareness, but they involve this harmonization he was speaking about. My subconscious mind is fully aware of my body. It's fully aware of the touch of clothing on my body, the air that touches my face. It's fully aware of the sensation of the bottom of my feet, my hands. As I'm speaking this, our conscious mind and the attention of our conscious mind is coming to our body. And so in all of these exercises, in that moment of mindful awareness, in that moment where we bring that attention into our body, there is that harmonization between our conscious and our subconscious. So these exercises, they may seem like they have a hypnotic quality, and they do, but they're working on a different level, a higher level than something that's purely subconscious, something that's designed to put us into that subconscious state of sleep. Now, this being said, Beelzebub Tales is a 1,250-page hypnotic text. And it's designed, and he says it over and over again, it's designed to confuse the conscious mind so that things can be slipped into the subconscious mind. And it's really designed to teach our subconscious, or the way he described it, our subconsciousness. But again, this is a very complex, elaborate topic. So I haven't really done it justice in just a couple of minutes, but it's something we can talk about further. I am a professional hypnotherapist. One of the most comprehensive textbooks on the practice and utilization of hypnotherapy is Beelzebub Tales, but it's all hidden in there. And you have to have a background in hypnosis to really see where he's talking about it and to make those connections. But it's a very important dimension of the work. It really is. to learn to work with the subconscious and to bring the subconscious into conscious awareness and harmonize our being. But you know, that's like I said, a difficult question to answer very quickly. Any other comments, questions? Do inner work this week. Try to do, you know, J.G. Bennett's 60 point or the 60 bone exercise in the hands and fingers. Get yourself used to doing inner work, trying to get more and more elaborate as we go along. Some of us are at different levels, different stages. Some of us have been doing inner work for years. Some of us are just new to this particular variant of inner work, the Gurdjieff inner work that you may have been doing, like Jonathan, the Zen Buddhist, and different techniques, different forms. Okay, it's noon. I've got a client coming very soon, so I'm going to have to get going.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
And-
you. Thank you so much, Alan.
Okay. We will meet
Thank you,
next week again, same time.
See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Okay, take care.
Okay.
Thank you.